IELTS Speaking Part 1 Hometown. Let me introduce some advanced vocabulary and natural English that's going to help you impress the IELTS speaking examiner when describing your hometown. Let's go. Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Miss Wafa and I'm from the IELTS Speaking Club and ESL Words. Today I'll walk you through how exactly you can answer questions about your hometown, which can be a question you get on any part, whether it's part 1, 2, or 3 on your IELTS speaking exam. In this lesson, I'll show you what you can talk about to describe your hometown so you are able to sound natural while using advanced vocabulary words. Now, it's important that you use complex words, but it's equally important that you use simple vocabulary so you can balance out your answers. I truly believe that one of the secrets to successfully score a high band on your IELTS speaking exam is to use natural spoken English, because you don't want to sound too formal or for it to sound like it's forced. What I mean by this is try to avoid using complex vocabulary that you would use throughout an essay or something you would hear in poetry, because this is not what the IELTS speaking examiner is looking for. He's looking for your ability to speak in a way that you would discuss something with a friend or maybe your manager. So this is a different type of vocabulary you want to use throughout your exam. So if you're asked about your hometown in part 1, these questions are pretty straightforward. So here are some things to keep in mind when you are talking about your hometown in part 1. Maybe if the examiner asks you, where do you live? You want to make sure that you not only mention the city, but maybe mention when you moved there or how long you have lived there. Or maybe if you plan to move out soon, you can also add this to your response. You can also discuss the size of your hometown. Is the city you live in big? Is it small? Is it very crowded? Is it very quiet? Try to mention these things just so you have more things to discuss and describe about your hometown. Another thing you could mention is what your hometown is famous for. Maybe if there's a really popular monument, like I live in Toronto, so I would say something like, I actually live in Toronto. It's a city where the CN Tower is located, and I'm sure you know where that is because it's one of the tallest buildings in the world. Something like this, so people can put two things together, the city and the famous tourist attraction, and that way the examiner is able to really imagine the place or picture it in their head. So I wanted to go through some advanced vocabulary words and phrases you can use and you should keep in mind for exam day. So let's say the examiner asks you, where do you live? How long have you lived there? You could say something like, I come from, mention the country name, and I was born in, and mention where you were born. For example, you could say something like, I come from Canada and I was born and bred in Toronto. Born and bred pretty much means where your parents raised you throughout your youth. And if you still live there, you could say something like, I've been living here for 20 odd years. 20 odd years pretty much means approximately 20 years. And if you don't live there anymore, you can say something like, I lived there for the best part of 20 years before I moved to another city. And let's say you want to describe the size or the location of where you live. Try to use some of these phrases. So for example, instead of saying it's a big city, you could say something like, it's a somewhat big city, or it's a somewhat small city, or it's a pretty small town. And if you want to be specific about your location of your hometown, for instance, you could say something like, Edinburgh is north of the UK. Or you could use even more advanced vocabulary and say something like, it's just north of the capital. And if you want to describe what your hometown is famous for, try to use phrases like, my city is famous for its food. So if you want to talk about what your city is famous for, instead of just saying my city is famous for its food, you can actually use phrases like, my city is actually best known for its vibrant street food. Or you could say something like, tourists flock there to experience the local bakeries of Toronto. And if it's not famous for anything, instead of just saying it's not famous, try to use advanced phrases like, it's a fairly anonymous place. Not much people know about it. And let's say the examiner asks you to describe the local people of your hometown. You could use phrases like, the locals are quite warm and welcoming. Or you could say something like, it's a tourist-friendly area with lots of helpful guides and great hospitality. Let's say the examiner asks about any changes that were made recently in your hometown. Try to use phrases like, the city has changed drastically. New buildings have cropped up everywhere throughout the past 10 years. Or you could say something like, there's not a day that goes by without something new being constructed in my hometown. Speaking of practice, ladies, if you're looking to join a community where you will be able to practice your speaking, then you might find my IELTS Speaking Ladies Club really interesting. This ladies club is actually hosted over Zoom. I actually teach you ladies. We go over different IELTS speaking mock tests. I give you feedback and I give you any suggestions, tips on anywhere I think you can improve on. If you are interested in this ladies club, make sure you join down below. I've made it specifically for those of you who are stay-at-home moms, who have lots of responsibility of taking care of your children, and maybe you want to learn English from home and you want to become that confident English speaker. Check the description box down below. So let's say the examiner asks you to describe your hometown. Let's have a look how I would answer this question. Describe your hometown. I come from Egypt. I was born and bred in Cairo. I've been living here for the best part of 25 years. Cairo is a sprawling city located in the north of the country, right next to the banks of the Nile River. It's best known for its historical sites, especially the pyramids of Giza, which draw tourists from all over the world. The locals are friendly and welcoming, always willing to help visitors navigate the city. While Cairo has rich history, it has modernized significantly in recent years. The skyline has changed a lot with new high-rise buildings cropped all over the city. It's a fascinating place that seamlessly blends tradition and modern society, and I'm happy to call it home. So there you have it, guys. I was able to share advanced vocabulary with you so you are able to score a high band and sound fluent throughout your IELTS speaking exam. If you like this video, then make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel so I'm able to assist you throughout your IELTS speaking journey. I hope to see you soon. Assalamu alaikum.